I'm your host, Tyler Carter.
And I'm your host, Cody Van Ciello.
Cody, it was a eventful weekend in the world of sports. So I gotta know because we had a very famous event this past weekend. What were your thoughts on the Masters?
I think the Masters went about kind of like what I expected. I mean, your big hitters in Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, Bryson DeChambeau all were a part of it. And I was watching the final yesterday, and Rory McIlroy came in like I think it was like late in the stretch of the final with like a five shot lead. That kind of got whittled down by Justin Rose's performance, but Rory McIlroy ultimately was able to pull away. And Rory McIlroy, I Bleav, is the 15th or 16th professional golfer in history to record the career Grand Slam. So that's basically winning. So that's the winning all four major tournaments. So if I was to maybe make like a football reference, that would be like you win the conference and you win the national championship.
Yeah, man, that's dope. Congrats to him. Um, I know, like everybody was asking, what would that? I saw one funny meme where it's like, it's explain this in NFL terms. And I was like, it'd probably be like if the Cowboys finally made it to the NFC Championship game. That's basically how long that drought. That's why I equate that as because it's been a minute for Rory, and that's why I'm gonna equate it to because it'll just be so surprising that even I wouldn't have even expect that. But congrats to Rory McIlroy, and it looked like because it was like the talk of of like basically Big 12 Twitter and everybody who I follow.
Yeah, I just knew everyone was talking. I was in a few group chats and we all were locked in on the Masters. And I mean, the Masters is always something that everybody looks forward to. I mean, you have a lot of people that may not be too familiar with golf, but they'll watch the Masters, and that's kind of like their gateway into golf. And oh, I mean, yeah, the Masters will always just it's just one of those ones. And this is the first major tournament of the year for PGA because there are three more coming up. I think there's one in May and there's one in June, and one that's in July. I don't remember the exact like timeline of it, but I know you have the British Open, you've got the PGA Championship, and I think there's one more that I'm forgetting the name of, but
It's
there's
the
a couple.
U.S. Open.
Okay, yeah, the U.S. Open. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, be tuned in for that, and we definitely, obviously, Cody will be tuned in, so definitely be tuned in for his summer golf takes. We had some other stuff happen in the college football world this weekend, Cody. Um, we're talking about basically the talk right now in college football is Nico Iamaleava leaving Tennessee. And like when I saw this, when I first saw this thing, I'm like, wait a minute, what? And then I figured out the whole thing, and I'll read some of the article that I found on CBS Sports. So basically, what they were saying, um, like they'll have to find like now Tennessee is in the pickle because they don't have any scholarship quarterbacks. And with only two scholarship quarterbacks, they're gonna have to find somebody else, especially with Nico Iamaleava not being showing up to spring practice. Like the fact, and apparently there were reports saying that he was looking for a $4 million deal when he was already making 2.4 million. So there was a lot of there is a lot of strong pushback on for both sides. I really feel like it's both in the middle, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Cody.
Yeah, this what's funny about the situation. I listened to Williams Bloom yesterday. This is kind of a full circle moment for University of Tennessee because I think if you're familiar with like 2 years ago, you had the state of Tennessee. I Bleav they sued the NCAA for like kind of like it was like tampering or something like that, and that like in the recruitment of Nico. And now you have this where Nico's asking for more money because I Bleav he saw like the payroll of like some of the basketball players, and given that he's playing football, he wants to be the most paid man on campus, and
Right.
that can result in the falling out. And now that he's out of Tennessee, this is kind of like a full circle moment for the state of Tennessee as a whole.
Yeah. Where do you think he ends up?
I I don't think if you want to avoid any bad PR, you kind of like don't want to uh, pick up Nico, especially with how late it is in the transfer portal. But there is going to be a team that is going to be desperate for a quarterback, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like USC because of Lincoln Riley. I feel like that's the most probable spot, given that Lincoln Riley is a like QB whisperer of sorts, and it wouldn't shock me if USC tries to pick up Nico because I think USC needs a quarterback upgrade, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to Southern California.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, maybe other people in that circle because I know I listened to the Solid Verbal podcast when they had Ryan Abraham from the USC site, and they said they're still unsure about Jaden Mayava. So hey, I mean, if you bring Nico in, you will definitely will have some quarterback controversy a little bit there, and have some good quarterback competition, and bring Nico in there. He'll definitely have. I think he definitely has a higher upside, especially with him being a former 5 star.
Yeah, and I think this kind of poses I think now like I think this decision here because I remember there was something going on in Congress that was being proposed bipartisan bill by Senator Ted Cruz and Cory Booker that had to deal with like the NCAA like getting like or like these student athletes being like exempt from like lawsuits, just like antitrust laws. So there's a lot going into it, not just on like just in athletics, but also like legislatively. So I think this is going to be a huge like event that decides whether that bill gets passed into law and written into law or not.
Yeah, and like having this happen right before the schools have to, you know, start paying for players. It's going to be interesting because I believe doesn't that come and go into effect within the next few months, or at least
Yeah,
starting in July.
no, I thought it started within like, or I think the free agency ends like, or like transport ends like, in a couple weeks.
Gotcha.
So I think I was listening to Brent Bloom talk about it, and he mentioned that April 25th, 26th might be when the transport like window closes or something along that line. I have to listen back just to make sure, but there's something that is connected to all of this it's going to be happening here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I gotta think that there's gotta be a ruling soon, and then like as soon as the schools start to pay their own players, it should be interesting to see. And with that, I want to transition into more more about NIL. Um, so with me, let's talk about Texas Tech and BYU. Both of these programs have major backings. Texas Tech in the oil industry, and then BYU because of the uh, the church. Um, like what like I mean, because you've seen both of these teams doing work in the transfer portal for basketball, and it's sort of like, man, like they're sort of like they're both like just keeping up, and it seems like everybody else in the Big 12 is sort of just keeping up with the Joneses. Now they're up there with Kansas, and now Kansas has some competition in the money department.
Yeah, mentioned Texas Tech. I mean, with Darren Williams, like he decided to enter the portal, and I'm assuming like he's gonna also declare for the, well, yeah, he also declared for the NBA draft. So I'm wondering if, obviously, he looks like a solid NBA prospect. But I wonder if he's using this like as leverage for more NIL. I mean, you saw Texas Tech bring back who was it JT Toppin, and I believe they brought back Christian Anderson, or is he going to the
Yeah,
draft? Yeah,
no, they brought back Christian Anderson too.
yeah. So I'm guessing. I mean, those two were probably like around like the $3 to $4 million mark. Because I remember JT Toppin like was like earning an estimated $4 million out of the NIL, and I think Christian Anderson would be around that range. So I wouldn't be surprised if Darren Williams is around that ballpark as well.
Yeah, I mean, especially just now with, I feel like this is going to turn a lot of people off, especially basically with college players going with contract negotiations. But I mean, honestly, I don't think that the players really here are to blame, because I think we've referred to this before. Like the NCAA had a chance to like do this in like the 80s or the 90s where they could have paid players back then, and they decided not to do it. So I mean, this the NCAA is just having more pie in their face day by day by day by day by day, and now like the system is just becoming broken.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just like just the selfishness of like some suits, kind of like back in the 96, 80s and 90s. We're now feeling the side effects of it, and it's just
Hmm.
one of those things where like you still have to try to weather the storm. And I think this comes back to Iowa State, because with Iowa State, like we have a solid bag, but we're not like as deep of pockets as a Texas Tech, a BYU, or say a Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the hoping that that Town is everything that we hope that it is. And I gotta have I have another gripe, Cody. There was another team that decided to sell beer, and this one is a religious institution. Did you see that Notre Dame is going to start selling beer at their games?
Yep.
I was like, so wait a minute. So you're telling me Notre Dame can sell beer, but we can't?
Yes, and I made the quote, at the rate that we're going, BYU and Utah are going to sell beer before Iowa State ever does. Are we
This is an
serious?
absolute joke, man. I don't understand.
I mean, I've tried to like ask this, but I'm at the point where like I just don't care, because it's like what's even the like we know like they're never going to do so, like, and just all the comments within the last like the whole thing, just it's just a shitstorm. And I'm just disappointed. It's like, how are we letting a religious school like Notre Dame doing this before we do? And then the joke writes itself. At the rate
Right.
we're going, the Mormons are going to start selling beer in Lavelle Edwards and Rice Eccles before we ever do.
Exactly. It makes no sense, man. Like I just the amount of money that you can make and the revenue that you can make, especially if you're
Yeah.
trying to make more money in a landscape where it's keeping up with the Joneses. We gotta make as much money as possible.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, you can also like you have the We Will beers that you can also sell at these places that can also benefit the student athletes. So that way you can maybe try to bring in a much like a talented like transfer, or like you can keep your guys, be a better easier chance of like you have a higher probability of keeping these players with like more money, obviously.
Right.
Um, like obviously you're seeing what I expect Noyes and Jusitis and Deshaun Jackson out at Pitt. They're gonna be making a lot of money. I mean, the guys who leave Iowa State, they have made a good amount of money.
Right. So, I mean, it really should be interesting to see because I keep hearing that it's gonna have to slow down at some point. But like, I feel like that's wishful thinking right now because it hasn't slowed down yet, and I don't think it's gonna slow down at any time soon at all.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I just imagine it like as a like right where I'm at right now. I'm glad like it's like I want to be able to enjoy like college sports, but I mean, this may turn out like how this goes, depending on how this falls in the next few months. It may turn a lot of people off like from college sports just because of I don't know, just a lot of things. And I mean, you're making like I think you're already making like a good amount of people bend over backwards almost. And now ask for more, there comes a point where people's pockets like run out, and I think that's the case with me right now. Obviously, being a student, like who knows where my fees are going to?
Right. Exactly. You're already paying tuition for school, and now you're asking me for more money. Like for me, I'm already paying like what $30 for a ticket. Sometimes I'll pay for a hotel. I got to pay for gas to come out here, and I do that probably 4 or 5 times out of the year. So you want me to now start paying like giving more money? Like I like
I think it's
get
just
the
yeah,
whole point, but like man, there comes a point where like you're stretching people's pockets, man.
yeah. I think it's just like that's just kind of the reality we have right now. Like it's just we're just I think it's just reality is it's just it just that comes down to it. And I think eventually this will get settled. I think we're gonna be able to circle back. I think this thing may,
Hmm.
if it gets out like hand, it's gonna come crashing down, and then we'll be kind of like in a kind of in a reset. And I think that's where you can expect like different things. That's what I'm expecting at some point here within the next like 10 to 15 years. You could possibly see a reset in the market and whatnot.
That's what I'm thinking because I think this can't last forever. And just like and knowing college football and like if they try to do that super league, it's not going to be successful. I can already tell you now, like because it's just like with the way college sports is,
Hmm.
like you can't make it like a mini NFL. The NFL is the NFL and it works
Yeah,
because like it, I just feel like there's not that many casual fans to begin with. Plus, the people that are casual fans watch the NFL more. So,
yeah,
like,
and this kind of like I think I'm just thinking of a point where hold on, I'm losing my train of thought, but it had something to do with hold on, some like with like media rights deals and whatnot. I think it's somewhere around there. Like I lost my train of thought for a second, but yeah, just somewhere in that mark. Like
huh? I just got. I'm like, this is just something that I got live on the thing. Apparently, Max Crosby is going to be named the assistant GM for football at Eastern Michigan University. So, interesting development there.
hmm
Like what you're saying is a lot of these NFL guys have become GMs. Like you see Andrew Luck be the GM at Stanford,
yeah,
and like he's in charge of the coaching search.
yeah. Okay, I think I got my train of thought back. It's
Oh,
like because
sure.
like the way the NFL is popular, like obviously it's the most popular thing, but the way they do things is like they monetize just about anything and everything. Like like you have all those like off season shows where like they do the draft, free agency, and all that. I think college should be able to do something like that where like they like
I
do
agree.
stuff like in the off season to monetize that way. You can keep up really 'cause that's one of the things is why the NFL is so popular is because they're able to monetize just about anything and everything they could do. So imagine where you're making like a show about like different like off season like moves like for a team like just put it on like a big television network and then you have people just talk about like transfer portal news, things like about the college football playoff or something or just something.
You might as well. I mean, we got to stop pretending. We got to stop. The NCAA needs to stop pretending that they're still student athletes. Like
Yeah,
they're
we know it's a
athletes.
business.
We're
Yeah,
way past that now. Like college football is
yeah.
a business.
Yeah, we've known this for like I've known this for like the past like 5, 10 years. Just like
Yeah.
once I got to campus, I'm like, yeah, this is a business. Like you see why people are telling like they're marketing you to buy these things. It's because they have that revenue flow to pay like the players. Like we've known this is happening for a while. So yeah, just that's all the NCAA needs to do is just move from the fact that this is no longer the 80s and 90s. We're not dealing with the great like Miami teams of the 80s. You're not dealing with Nebraska's of the 80s. You're not dealing with
Sorry about that, guys. There has been um, a little bit of technical difficulties. Cody froze, um, but as soon as we get him back, he was going into a new point. He basically was Cody was basically saying that in this new form of college football, that the NCAA just needs to stop fooling itself and this thinking that it's not the 80s and 90s anymore, and that like we need to start um, like paying these players and call them just athletes. Like yes, they are sort of students, but now with the type of money that they're making, like now they're basically just like almost semi-professional athletes. So I think that's where he was trying to go with that, and hopefully at some point he will join us again. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about was does having money equal success? Um, I think with this question, like you really gotta ask yourself. Like one of the questions that I always ask is, how are you spending this money? Are you spending it smart? Like, or are you spending it just for the sake of spending it because you have it? Like, I feel like when you go into the portal, like obviously, because there's obviously going to be players that are going to be like hired mercenaries and they're going to be on like 1 year contracts and like transferring out every year. But like I mean, the transfer portal is not really a guarantee for you to get better. Like obviously, you got to know that like the talent that you pick up in the portal.
Um, Welcome
All right,
to
hey, you're back.
yeah. I don't know what happened. I guess something like this is the really struggling. Yeah, again, as a college student, this struggle trying to record on campus because like the internet just randomly went out.
I get it, man. Okay, now
hmm
can you finish your thought?
Yeah, I was like kind of like talking about like the old like college football days. Yeah, we're not dealing with like the dynasties like the Tom Osborne, like the Miami Hurricanes. Like we're in a whole different realm where anything and everything that could be monetized will be monetized, and like the dollar is the biggest thing. So I think suits in the NCAA need to realize that they need to evolve with the times because the old saying goes, "Evolve or die." This is just what it is. It's natural. It's almost like natural selection. Like you see, like because I don't think you want like team like how like Oregon State and Washington State ended up in the position that they were. It stems from what happened in the 80s and 90s and people not moving on from it. So now you don't want that. If you're like a team like Iowa State, you don't want to end up in that situation or end up in the another rendition of the Big 12 missile crisis.
Exactly. So like it's more than important to you know fall in line, and I'm really excited about the side time project. Like obviously, like I know a lot of some fans are like, sure ticks, but hey, if I mean, unfortunately, if we want to be good and continue to be good, this is what we got to do. Unfortunately,
Yeah, and I mean it's a credit the fact that we've already kept like both TJ and Matt Campbell in Ames, like so that they truly are like that's the thing with Iowa State that a lot of like other fan bases are not exactly because I mean with like the Alabamas, the Ohio States, the Michigans of the world, you have a lot of like the more casual fans who aren't necessarily
right?
like tuned in to all sports on a normal basis. Like I mean the term Walmart fan exists like to classify like casual fan like that. At Iowa State, you don't really have that because if you're an Iowa State fan, you're like the old saying, like the saying goes, "Loyal forever true." Like you're just a ride or die for Iowa State, and that's just the position that we're in.
Right, right, and like most fan bases in the Big 12 are like that as well.
hmm
They have like they have big fan bases, but like they're mostly because they either had family who went there or they went there themselves. And obviously not having like bandwagon fans and t-shirt fans is actually it's great. Obviously, maybe if Iowa State keeps winning, we're probably gonna have t-shirt fan at some point if we get to a level where we're consistently winning like double digit games and making some playoff appearances.
Right.
If we get to that, but there are a few more questions I want to ask, and then we'll end it. Um, but one, the first question I have: does having money equal success?
Um, I think having like a deeper bag can help, but it's not like the ultimate like factor. I mean, we have prime cases of this happening around the Big 12. I mean, you look at what happened with Kansas. You saw how much money they were dropping on the players like Zeke Mayo, Rylan Griffin, AJ Storr. And you saw how they ended up, and then kind of saw the same thing with Kansas State and how much they dropped for Coleman Hawkins. That didn't necessarily turn out well. And then like you look obviously Iowa State, I'm gonna use them as a great example. We don't necessarily have the deepest bag, but that means but we find guys who really fit in our system, that fit our culture, and they're much more effective because like the biggest thing for a successful team is like do the pieces fit together well, and is the
Right.
culture fit for like what the team expects. That's the thing that like that's why I see a lot of like I don't know, just the whole thing with Jefferson and like the money deal is like people like you're gonna have those cases where guys may have a little more money, but like they are a good fit. And that's clearly what Jefferson was like, because like that was the biggest deal for Iowa State. The biggest priority was securing Milan, Heyman, Jefferson. Those three were the biggest like priority because who knows if Iowa State didn't have the money they did, and I don't know the exact numbers. imagine that Iowa State loses Tame Lipsey, Mila Momcilovic, and Joshua Jefferson all like within like um, the, the last couple of years. Who knows where Iowa State could have been in? But the guys I mean, money played a factor for all three of them, but the ultimate thing was did the culture fit? And this is like what the guys wanted out of their college basketball career, and that's what Iowa State's been able to do is like make it fit. Like the biggest thing for success is fitting the pieces together. And do they gel well?
Yeah, and major credit, major credit to Brent Plum and the We Will Collective for doing excellent work. And one thing I will say is that they have the ability to retain players, and also just like with TJ and Matt, like having the type of players that want that that are looking still that are still like sort of old fashioned, still want to get like an education, but also still are want to win and like play hard and like earn your spot. So like like credit for both of them trying to find guys and like obviously, as I said on the podcast yesterday, I said culture is an overused word, but it really is important. So I mean, when you have that culture and you develop that, and then you have other people that come in, like because AJ and Chase, who just came in, not AJ, Xavier and Chase, who came in for football, they just hopped in, listened to Jalen and Jaden and what they told them, and they've been hanging in Rocco. And I mean, I think that's going to pay dividends for both of them. And
Yeah,
I also think like another factor, I think it's really how you spend the money, because I don't think you should spend money just to spend it because you have it. Like
yeah.
honestly, like for me, like this goes into our second question, and I'll have you answer first. Like, what do you think the best way is to build a roster now in current college football?
I think the best way for me, like how I build my roster, how I would build a roster is kind of looking for maybe like those like you're obviously gonna look at the high star players, and the first question I'm gonna ask is, are you willing to do like X, Y, and Z? If you aren't, then that can automatically, or like what's the biggest thing like for like the player, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
is it like winning or is it like money? And then like I would, if I saw like money was a big thing for them or whatever, that's the only thing they care for, then he'd be like, okay, thank you very much, move on to the next candidate, because they're there for the money, they're not necessarily there for success, and you can tell. Now that may be a little controversial, but it's how I would run it. It's like the biggest thing for me is like producing on and off the field. You're producing like not just great athletes, but also great like young leaders, because I know there's you're gonna get like the the status true is like you only get like what 1 or so% of like college athletes go to the NFL. So
Right.
I want to be able to have a group of guys that I know I can prepare them for life, like after like football and whatever. So that's going to be something to look at. Number two, are like do they like fit the culture? Like what's their like track record? I guess maybe because like it can give me a indication of what the character is, and are they willing to adopt some of these things? Like are they willing to adopt like something different from what they used to have back at like their old school? So it's just a matter of culture fit and leadership for me.
I knew there's a reason why you're called Matt Campbell impersonator. No, I feel like I would be the same way. Like, like my first question would be like, why are you here? Like, what's your intentions here? Like, do you want to win, or are you here just to get a bag? Because there's plenty other schools that will be able to give you a bag, and there ain't no problem with that. It's just that here, like, yeah, you'll get paid. We'll also will teach you, to be a better young man, and if you are good enough, you'll get paid when you get to the NFL. Like, this program has proven with I'll say the last 5 years of putting players into the NFL, and like Will McDonald, I think was one of the first NIL guys, and he decided to stay, and he could have went anywhere in the nation, and he ended up being a top 15 pick in the draft. So now he's a multimillionaire. Brees stayed, and like, I mean, there's so many examples in this program. And then second, I would say is like looking for the type of guys. It'd be similar to looking for the type of guys that fit that hard working like lunch pill like culture, um, and really finding guys that fit that mold and are willing to come in and work hard. Now,
Hmm.
obviously, like I will use the portal for like supplemental moves that I know. Let's say if like we're pretty young in that position, I feel like I would probably go into a portal and try to get some more experience. And that's exactly what Iowa State did this year, getting two experienced receivers in the portal.
Hmm.
And then also, maybe like also look at a recruit like just this is another example. Like Xavier Townsend is a guy that we recruited way back in 2021, but
Hmm.
we still had a good relationship and didn't burn bridges, and he was still tight with Rocco. Like maybe if he has an ongoing relationship with him and like one of the players can vouch for him, then hey, let's try and re-recruit him and try to bring him back, and it worked. So
Yeah.
I definitely that would also be my approach.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned like maintain a good brace. That's an example of like the manner of professionalism that like is going to be taught like at a program like Iowa State. It's just like how you conduct yourself, and the
Hmm.
fact that Xavier Townsend maintained that brace, maintained that good relationship with Rocco Beck, like that earned him opportunities. So that's a learning lesson for young guys as well. It's like always keeping things open, like do your like maintain these like good relationships because you don't know if you're ever going to need them. So that's just a life skill that you're going to have. So that's just an example. And I mean, back to football. I mean, realistically, I know I remember it's like our only big loss was Tyler Onyedum because I think he wanted to play at a place closer to home, and he still maintained a like I think he still has a great relationship with Iowa State. Like he never shunned Iowa State because we looked at his contributions for Iowa State, and obviously if a guy wants to play closer to home, then that's a decision that I can respect. Because like yeah, I mean a lot of guys like they have different motives, and playing like closer to home is a big one, especially if like family is a big deal to you. Because obviously you're gonna have a good family like at a place like Iowa State, but it always feels a little better when you get to play closer to your actual family.
Yeah, and I don't blame him for that at all. And I remember when he left, like a lot, there wasn't really any like discord in the fan base. It's like, hey, we understand you want to play far from home, and you got a bag. Hey, we wish you the best of luck. So I
Hmm.
mean, you just chalk it up and then move on. Um, but yeah, so like with that, um, and obviously with the NBA playoffs and the NBA play-in coming up, why don't you talk about our sponsor, MyBookie, Cody?
Yeah, my bookie is our presenting sponsor, and yeah, I mentioned the NBA playoffs are starting to heat up. I know I got some good friends like who are Minnesota Timberwolves fans, and they're hoping that the Minnesota Timberwolves get a top six seed. And I mean, they recently beat the Utah Jazz here, and take a look here, Miami Heat, and Chicago Bulls are playing, and that's gonna be important for the NBA playoffs because I Bleav they're both in the play-in tournament. Tyler.
They are both in the play-in tournament. Hopefully, Josh Giddey can come back and make it because he's injured currently. So hopefully, he can make it back for the play-in. And hey, I mean, honestly, they had the same record as they did last year, but I honestly feel more hopeful since this team is a lot more younger than what they used
Hmm.
to be.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, Chicago Bulls. I mean, with Josh Giddey being out, Kobe White is going to have to ball a little more. So that I think it might be a good time to go onto my bookie and probably put the under on the total points for Kobe White.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Um, and also, look, these playing matches are going to be fun. So make sure you type in our promo code MM50 at MyBookie. Make sure you mention the Bleav in Iowa State podcast when you sign up. And if you know ball, uh, make some money. All right. So with that being said, I still have one more news. Just a reminder that we have a bonus show on Wednesday, and that Taylor Mauser joins the pod. Not next Wednesday, but this upcoming Wednesday. So make sure to join us on the 16th at 8 p.m. I will make sure that as soon as the show is done, I will post where you can watch. You can watch on my page at SciTi Guy, and then I'll post it after the show. But basically, I just wanted to let y'all know that, put it in your guys' mind so you guys won't forget. But with that being said, we're gonna close out today's show. So thank you guys for listening to the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. Thank you for FeedSpot for nominating us as a top 15 sports podcast in the state of Iowa. Thank you, state of Iowa listeners. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And this is where you can find us on Twitter. Um, you can find me, Tyler, SciTi Guy. Find me at SciTi Guy, and hey, chop it up with me. I love talking to you. Um, talk to Cody on Twitter.
Yep.
Um, and hey,
I may be in a depressing state at the Braves, so yeah, I'm gonna just be. I'm in pain right now.
yeah, he's in pain. I'm actually, I, look, for me, like I went to the White Sox game on Saturday and they won a series for the first time this year. They beat the Red Sox 2 out of 3, in Chicago. So I'm feeling all right. At this point, if the White Sox can get me through June and then they suck after that, I'll call that a successful season.
Fair enough. Yeah, the AL Central. Oh boy. I mean, you're not too far from the Twins, so I may be able to give my roommate some of the business, given that they're worse than the White Sox.
I know the Twins stink. Screw
Yeah.
the
Nope.
Twins. Also, remember to follow us on social media as well: Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We can be reached on those. How do you spell Bleav? Bleav. Once again, that is Bleav. So that is all the time we have for today. So for Tyler Carter,
And for Cody Vanciello,
this is the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. Go Cyclones!
let's go State.